The storm hit faster than anyone had expected, a sudden, furious whiteout that trapped travelers and skiers alike, forcing them into the warmth of Pinecrest Lodge, a tiny ski resort tucked into a snow-laden valley. Ava Miller had been looking forward to a solo weekend escape, a chance to breathe, to read, to sip cocoa by the fire, and to forget the bustle of city life for a while. She had arrived early, checking in with a smile at the small reception desk, and had already claimed her favorite spot in the lounge, by the fire, a book in hand. Then the storm began. Snow fell in thick, blinding sheets, piling high against the windows and blocking all the roads leading out. The lodge, cozy but limited in space, quickly filled with stranded travelers. When Ava returned to the front desk to check if her room key was ready, she was met with an apologetic frown from the receptionist. "Sorry, Miss Miller," she said. "All our single rooms are booked. But there's a double available. You'd have to share." Ava hesitated. She had come for solitude, for quiet, for her own space. Sharing a room with a stranger was the last thing she had in mind. But the receptionist's apologetic shrug and the blizzard raging outside left her with little choice. "Fine," she said, biting back frustration. "I'll take it." Minutes later, she met her roommate, a man she didn't recognize, bundled in a navy parka, snow-dusted boots, and a rugged scarf. His brown hair was damp from the storm, and his eyes, a clear shade of blue, lifted in polite acknowledgement. "Hi, I'm Ethan," he said, offering a hand. Ava shook it briefly, still wary, before he stepped aside to let her enter the room. The room was tiny, more suited for a romantic getaway than a pair of stranded strangers. There were 2 twin beds pushed close together, a small heater humming gently in the corner, and a single window framing the blizzard outside. "This will be cozy," Ava said, her attempted humor falling flat. Ethan chuckled softly, shrugging. Cozy is one way to put it. The initial moments were awkward. Ava unpacked her bag with precise efficiency, trying not to disturb him, while Ethan unpacked more casually, his presence filling the small space without effort. They exchanged polite conversation, mostly about the storm, the lodge, and their respective trips, but neither pressed further. Silence stretched comfortably and uncomfortably at the same time. Night fell, and the storm showed no sign of abating. The lodge had dimmed the lights, leaving only the warm glow of the fireplace in the lounge to fight the winter darkness. Ava had brought a small thermos of cocoa from the lodge's kitchenette and, feeling a moment of daring, gestured toward the tiny living area near the window. "Want to share some cocoa? It's hot, at least." Ethan looked surprised but smiled.
"Sure.
"Why not?" They curled up on opposite ends of the small sofa, mugs warming their hands. The first few minutes were filled with polite small talk, a gentle clatter of cups, and the muffled roar of wind outside. But slowly, the tension eased. Ava laughed at one of Ethan's dry jokes about the inept ski instructor who had insisted he could ski down a black diamond slope without incident. Ethan laughed too, the sound warm and genuine, and for the first time, Ava felt an unexpected ease. "Do you sing?" she asked, a little embarrassed. "Occasionally," he said, raising an eyebrow. "Why?" "I thought maybe we could try a Christmas carol. You know, for the storm, to make it less bleak." Ethan hesitated, then smiled. "All right, but only if we do it with cocoa in hand." The next hour was a blend of off-key singing, laughter, and shy glances. Ava found herself leaning just slightly closer, drawn by the warmth in his eyes and the easy humor that cut through the storm's chill. Ethan, for his part, seemed to notice the subtle tilt of her head, the curl of her hair by the fireplace, and the way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. At some point, the conversation drifted from carols to stories, childhood Christmas memories, embarrassing holiday traditions, favorite winter hikes, and shared dreams of travel. The storm outside raged, but inside the room, a different kind of warmth took root. When the clock chimed midnight, Ava realized they had barely noticed the hours slipping by. They were sitting closer now, shoulders almost touching, mugs resting on the small table between them. Ethan's eyes lingered on hers longer than necessary, and she felt a flutter in her chest she hadn't expected. "Can I ask you something?" he said softly, voice just above a whisper. "Of course," she replied, heart quickening. "Do you think this storm was meant to be?" His smile was shy but earnest. Ava blinked, startled by the question. "You mean trapped together?" He nodded. "Maybe it's not a coincidence. Maybe it's something else." She felt her cheeks heat up, but she didn't look away. "Maybe it is," she said, and she meant it. Silence stretched for a moment, but it was no longer awkward. It was charged, tender, and full of possibility. Ethan reached slowly and brushed a loose strand of hair from her face, and Ava leaned into the touch. The air between them seemed to shimmer with unspoken words, a promise that neither wanted to end. The next few days of the storm passed in a blur of laughter, cocoa, and whispered conversations. Snow piled higher against the windows, but the world outside didn't matter. Inside the tiny lodge room, Ava and Ethan discovered a rhythm together, teasing, sharing, and lingering touches that hinted at something more. By the time the storm finally eased and the roads opened, the goodbye at the lodge's front door was bittersweet. Neither wanted the magic to end. Ethan smiled, brushing a snowflake from her coat. "So, next Christmas?" he asked, his voice hopeful. Ava laughed softly, warmth spreading through her chest. "Next Christmas, or maybe sooner." As she watched him walk to his car, the sun reflecting off the snow, Ava realized that what had started as an awkward, uncomfortable situation had turned into something extraordinary. The storm had brought them together. The tiny room had become a sanctuary, and late-night cocoa had ignited a spark she wasn't about to let fade. Sometimes, she thought, the best love stories didn't arrive on time. They were snowed in, unexpected, and entirely magical.